Hi, and welcome to FAQ Friday. I'm here today with Jason Tiller. Jason Tiller is our Saline County Health Department Director and Health Officer. Thanks for joining us again today, Jason.
Thank you, Brenda.
Yeah, for FAQ Friday, we've taken questions from the community, and we are here to answer some of those questions. We're talking about COVID-19, vaccines, vaccinations. How does all this work? I've been hearing about lists and lines and signing up online. Tell us more.
All right, that's a great question. And so to help with that, I have a little bit of an illustration, Brenda. So in order for somebody to get on the list to get vaccinated here in Saline County, the first thing that they need to do is go onto vaccinatesalinecountyks.com. If they do or don't have internet or they don't have a computer, they can call one of several places, including the health department, Salina Family Health Care Center, Senior Services, and even Salina Regional to help get them registered. When they go on the website, they'll click on Register for Vaccine. And then once they've finished their registration goes into the database, and then it's time-stamped for the date and time that their registration was completed. So that helps us keep things in order.
Okay, so I have a question. When you say the word timestamp, like when my mom's doing this and she hits enter or send, that's what the timestamp refers to.
Yep, absolutely. Okay. So now,
okay, say that again. Vaccinate
SalineCountyKS.com.
Okay, got it.
All right, so now once they're registered, there's some other steps that happen with the database on the back side of it. And this is where most people are probably wanting to know about the list and what happens. So I'm going to go through our process as we have prepared it for this coming week's vaccinations. So when somebody fills out their registration, of course, they ask their age, whether they live and work in Saline County, if they're in the high contact critical worker group, congregate settings. There's several questions there. So for the week of February 15th, we have been told by KDHE that we're going to have 900 doses to be able to give that week. And so with my planning team, we sat down, we looked at the way that the list is broken up, not by name, but by group of those different types. And since 65 plus has been our priority, and this will put us at our 30% goal of vaccinating everyone over 65 in Saline County, we decided to go ahead and do a 50-50 split on the vaccine for that week. So the first thing that happens is that list is divided up by everybody over age 65. All of their other answers don't have any weight to where they are in that order. If they're over 65, and then it goes by that time and date stamp. Okay. And so that 450 people will get scheduled, and then they're off to the side because they're complete. For the other 450 doses, we have taken it and we've divided that up now to do or be able to vaccinate 300 people that are in the K through 12 staff and child care provider category based off of their registration. And again, we resort the list of everybody that wasn't in this 450, and then we start working down until we get 300 people on this list. And then we sort it again for anybody for another 150 doses that is in the first responder, which includes law enforcement, firefighters, et cetera, and then critical city county workers as well. And so this is how that list works. Now, once all of this is done for this week and we get ready to figure out the division for the next week, since that list is in a database and everybody's record is time-stamped, if they didn't end up in one of these categories, then we can sort again and be able to start with another large group of over 65 and then keep working with these other groups.
So if people are already in that 450, 65 plus, this week and don't make that top cut, will they be next in line for the next week? Do they just move up then if they're on that
so
list?
If we get down to 450 and say you were 451st person on that list, then on the next week you're at the top of that, and we keep going down. So that's the thing to keep in mind, is that even when we divide it up by groups, that time and date stamp is how everything is organized. So for 450 people, the time and date that they registered is how it works going down that list to make sure that we try to keep it as fair as possible for everyone.
Yeah. So when you talk about first responders in the city, county, and law enforcement, what are some examples of those folks that are in that category?
So first responders, of course, that's police department, sheriff, Kansas Highway Patrol that live or stationed here in Saline County. That also includes firefighters, dispatchers actually fall into that category as well. Critical infrastructure city and county workers would be, as examples, those that ensure that our water is clean and safe to drink, sanitation related to the health and operation of the response in Saline County.
Yeah, because we still want our trash taken out. So that all the processes that make that happen, the drivers, the folks out at the landfill, and then what about like the office staff? Office staff fall into some of that too?
And they will. And the same thing happened with the healthcare group early on in phase one, because there are important parts that people play in each of those areas. So even though somebody in the healthcare area may not necessarily be a nurse or a physician, but it's the actions that they perform that help keep the hospital or the clinic or whatever their office is functioning.
Yes.
Whether, again, it goes back to sanitation or keeping people paid while they're working.
That's important because we want the folks
Yes.
to be able to pay their bills as well. That's something for the whole county, to lift everyone up in the county as we're supporting. And you mentioned the schools, and that means the schools that are the rural schools also.
Right,
That
so the
includes-
districts that are in Saline County, and one thing that we've tried to do there, and we know that one of the challenges that schools and child care providers have is they are wrapped up during the day in either providing education or taking care of our children. So we are trying to do an evening clinic for 2 to 3 weeks to really focus in on the K through 12 and child care workers, so that we can get all of them vaccinated in a timely manner and not disrupt the education and stuff that's happening at school.
Well, that's good because I've heard there's a shortage when you think about substitutes or people
Yeah,
that can fill
absolutely.
in, even in the food service.
Absolutely.
How anything that's provided with the cleaning staff, they can do that. So if we're done with phase one, moving on to phase two, is everyone in phase one vaccinated, or what does phase one look like as we're leaving phase one?
So there are still some healthcare workers from phase one that either due to they had COVID and they had to wait about 60 days after they finished their isolation period. Some of those city, county kind of fall into a continuity of operations from phase one. And so there are still some phase one folks. There are also some that initially they weren't really sure about getting the vaccine, and now that they've seen more, they want to be able to get it. So there are still going to be, I think, some ongoing people in phase one that will come up. And we're also hiring new people a lot of times, so those folks coming in may not have it, and they'll go into the phase one mix still.
Now, how many people have been vaccinated?
So as of this week, we should be at about a little over 5,500 that have either received one or both doses in the county.
And when we think about who's gotten had the opportunity to have the vaccination, I'm hearing that pharmacies are also offering vaccinations. So we've got the vaccination clinic out at the Central Mall in the former J.C. Penney's in Saline County.
Yep.
And what about some of the other folks that we hear that are doing that?
Okay. So for the pharmacies, one of the things that the federal government has done, and it's similar to how it worked for the long-term care facilities, is that they have a federal pharmacy program for pharmacies to be able to do vaccination. Now, what this means in a nutshell is that pharmacies will be able to eventually be able to give COVID vaccine. In our area, there's 2 locations right now, but over time, more pharmacies will come online with that. And then there will be individual scheduling on their website. So the 2 locations that will be starting here are the Dillon's on Planet Avenue and the Dillon's on South Ohio. And so As of yesterday, at least, there wasn't any information yet on how to schedule that through Dillon's. And one thing to keep in mind is that allotment of vaccine is coming directly from the feds at this level, down to the pharmacies, down to their local pharmacies to be distributed. It does not impact what we get in the county, or I should say what the state gets and then what we get, because it's a separate stream of vaccine, but it complements what we get. So for instance, if those two pharmacies, say, get 100 doses each, then that could be 1,100 doses of vaccine coming into the community next week.
Yeah. Well, I'm happy that we're having that opportunity for more to come in.
Absolutely.
What do you think about, should a person get on all three lists, or should they stick with one list? What do you recommend for folks in the county?
So realistically, I think people are going to sign up and try and get into the first place that they can get into. Pharmacies right now are still going to be restricted to those over 65, which is one of those things that allows us to open up our percentage a little bit more for our allotment on that 50-50 split, because we know that there will be some additional complementary vaccine for the over 65 group. But knowing that they're going to get on one list, and so if they get on a list, or if they make an appointment, say at Dillon's, and they're able to get in there before we can get down through our list to them, then I think that that's great. We're not so much concerned about whether they get the vaccine with us or they get it with somebody else, just as long as they get vaccinated.
Yeah, and then a courtesy call. Let whoever know that I'm no longer on this list, and maybe somebody else could move up the list to have that, to let the Saline County know about that. So who is supporting this? And there's kind of a buzz about, are the National Guard helping do this? Are they pulling professional staff from other jobs to help do the vaccination?
For the pharmacy vaccinations?
Yeah, for the pharmacy, and then also for Saline County. Who's helping giving all these professionals, where are they coming from?
Yeah. So first of all, for the pharmacies, pharmacies already do some vaccinations anyway, so this is not anything new for them. So it'll be their pharmacy staff that will be giving these vaccinations, or the COVID vaccines, just like they do for flu shots and several other adult vaccinations. As far as for the Saline County Joint Vaccine Clinic at the mall, that is still a collaboration of staff from the health department, Celina Family, and Celina Regional. I have seen the talk too about National Guard being sent to different places. That's good if they're bringing more vaccine with them. The few articles I've seen hasn't really been very in-depth. One of my concerns, being former military, is knowing that many National Guardsmen are in the civilian sector, do a lot of the same things that they do in the National Guard. And my concern for calling up National Guard healthcare personnel who are, already performing healthcare in their rural areas, to send them somewhere else when there's already a shortage of healthcare personnel, without some sort of ability to backfill or something like that. I just don't want to see that kind of impact to our rural communities. If our vaccine clinic, has to go on for 5, 6, 7 months, the sustainability of being able to use all the same people that we are right now is certainly a concern at that point. But our hope is that, by summer at the latest, there will be not only enough vaccine, widespread at multiple locations, but that trying to get the vaccine for all phases will be much easier, and they'll have more choices about where to get it at.
Now, would you remind us again, when you say we, and we talk about the vaccination clinic that's out at the Central Mall and the former JCPenney's, who are the three partners that are working together for that for Saline County?
Right, so the we consist of Saline County Health Department, Celina Family Health Care Center, and then Celina Regional Health Care. Our big three, if you will, for medical care, here in the county.
When someone comes for their vaccination, how early should they arrive? Can you tell us about the lines and some of the paperwork that might be involved?
Right, so the paperwork for the vaccine clinic, after you register and your appointment is set, you can go back to that same website, vaccinatesalinecountyks.com, and download your paperwork if you have the ability to print it off. You can fill it out beforehand and bring it with you. If you don't have that ability to be able to print it off, that's not a problem. We have the paperwork at the site. You can be able to fill it out. So when they arrive at the site, their paperwork will get reviewed, and then they will go through the entire process, which generally, depending on the amount of people that are there at that time, can take anywhere from 30 to 45 minutes, and I'll give yourself a little buffer.
Yeah.
We do ask, though, that in order to help control the traffic inside, that people don't come into the vaccine clinic until 15 minutes before their appointment time.
Well, and knowing the weather, here we
Yeah,
are
yeah.
in February in Kansas, we've got some really cold wind chills during the
Yep.
day, and it's worse during the night. For people to wait in their car safely, we want people to practice, cover your head, cover your ears, cover your fingers.
Absolutely.
To be safe and not stand in line, because your space, your registration guarantees your slot.
Right, that's absolutely correct. Getting there an hour earlier is not going to change whether you get your vaccine or not, because just like you said, your registration and your appointment is based off of how many doses we have, and we're not going to make appointments for doses we don't have. So nobody has to worry about whether they're actually going to get it or not.
Yeah.
The other thing too is we have a big sign, one of those flashing road signs out front, to help remind people to please wait in their vehicles until 15 minutes before their appointment, to help control the flow inside.
Yeah. Well, we love the folks that live in our county. We love Saline County, and it is February. We think about Heart Month.
Absolutely.
In addition to the things that are going on with the pandemic, what are
Yep.
some other things that are going on in your world, Jason?
So February is Heart Month, and not only is taking care of your heart, meaning that eating right and exercising, we also know that because of the pandemic, stress levels for many people due to anxiety, stress, and many factors like that, also areas of depression because of the isolation, have had a major impact, and that can also impact your heart and your heart health. So with that in mind, we want to make sure that not only are we watching out for our own health throughout this pandemic and our heart health and taking care of ourselves, but watching out for our friends and neighbors from a safe social distance. But sometimes for our neighbors and our friends that may live alone and they are in that social isolation, it just may mean talking to them from a distance, checking in on them, providing some sort of safe social interaction to help alleviate that impact.
And there's little things people can do. I mean, like, even if you just drive by somebody's house
Yeah.
and drive slowly, honk, wave, and when you see them peer out the curtain window,
Yeah.
just little things that can make their heart feel good and just lift them up for a little bit.
Absolutely.
Their neighbors might wonder what's going on, which could also be a good thing to give us all something to think about besides the vaccination. And but safety too. What does that think about? You're supposed to walk like a penguin when you're out with ice and snow. Any comments on that?
It may look silly, but trying to walk on ice, especially, trying to make sure that you are slow, flat-footed, and that you've got a solid step before you move your foot for the next step is extremely important, because especially moving into this weekend where we're supposed to have Arctic temperatures, snow, ice, and just some really rough conditions. People are going to be stuck inside again, and so they've got to take care of themselves, and they got to be safe when they do venture outside.
Yeah, well, that's good to kind of wrap it up with FAQ Friday, thinking about be careful, and if it makes you think about a penguin or that kind of walking, and also for February when you think about Heart Month, anything else that you would like folks to know on FAQ Friday, Jason?
Yeah, we try to put out information as quickly as we can with what we know, so that people are in the know with what's happening. We do that through social media, and we realize that social media may not be everybody's prime way of getting information, but we also have several newsletters that they can sign up for if they go over onto the Saline.org website and sign up that way. We want people to know that we are doing everything in our power and as a community to try and keep the pandemic under control, as well as trying to ensure that people are safe and healthy until we can rip our mask off and put all this behind us.
Yes. Yeah, so if people have questions for FAQ Friday, if you have questions for Jason and the professionals that are taking care of us and making recommendations for the county, message through Facebook. You can go on the Saline County for the Facebook page and just send them a message, and that's how they'll pull together the questions. And we look forward to visiting again in a couple of weeks on FAQ Friday. Thank
All
you.
right, sounds great. Thank you, Brenda.